اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد
وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. آمنا بالله، صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بالإمام الجواد عليه السلام. مؤمنين مؤمنات, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Condolences on the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Al Jawad alayhi salam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the opportunity to learn from his life and his words and the words of the Ma'soomeen, the infallible ones. Follow them in this world, get to visit them inshallah, and gain their intercession, the intercession of the Prophet and his progeny, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhim ajma'in, in the hereafter, in the real sense and meaning of shafa'ah and intercession inshallah. I want to reflect on some of the words of the Imam that are in line or in the same subject as the ayah that I recited and began with from Surah Al-Anfal, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the believers, not any believer, but the sincere ones. There are levels in faith, and those who believe, mu'minun, they're of different statuses. They're not all the same. Same as other people of the book or people of the book of other groups of faith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it comes to them, He says, Laysu sawa. They're not the same. You can't look at all people and say they're all the same. Whether they're Muslims, Christians, Jews, or any group of faith for that matter. The classification should not be what label they have, or what title they may carry, or what family they're born in. Most of us, most people in this world, they're born in certain families, and these families belong to a certain group of faith, and therefore they follow that faith, or they are given the title that belongs to that group of faith. They're called Muslims, or they're called Christians, or they're called Jews, or they're called Hindus, or whatever they may be called. It is based on the family they're born in and based on a label that they may give themselves or they may be given at birth. In some identification cards in some countries they have even that, you're born in certain family and therefore they write not only what group of faith but also what sect you belong to. Some of you may be familiar with that. They write Muslim Sunni or Muslim Shia. They have to specify on your ID card. I think in certain parts of the world, the Western world at least, they have abolished that. You're a human being, and that's what matters. In any case, which in fact is what matters, because you should not assess one based on where they're born and what family they're born in. It should be based on what qualities they possess. The Quran, before we come to the words of Imam Al Jawad alayhi salam, as we remember him, again I try whenever we're commemorating or celebrating any of the Imams or any of the infallible ones, I try to reflect on their words or lessons from their life, because that is essentially what matters. We can speak about their virtues. If we cannot follow them, we have not benefited. If we cannot try to be like them and implement their words and their lifestyle in our life and in our lifestyle, we have not benefited from their leadership and imam. An imam is one that we follow. The Imam of Jama'ah is referred to as Imam of Jama'ah because we're supposed to follow the Imam, yeah? We don't proceed and we follow step by step. As soon as he goes to ruku', we go to ruku'. We don't delay it and we don't go faster. This is a rule. Inshallah, we adhere to that rule. I was told, in fact, some of the mu'mineen were complaining that some in Jama'ah, they go to ruku' or sujood before the imam. Make sure you don't, because if you do, that breaks your jama'ah. Your salat may be accepted as furada, and it would affect the rest of the people in congregation. So make sure you are following and not proceeding and not going ahead, in other words, and not delaying it too much. So delaying it too much means what? The imam went to sujood, he's about to get up and you haven't gone to sujood yet. Or he finished his first sajda and you're still in sujood. You can do your prolonged sujood in furada. In jama'ah, you follow the sujood of the imam, and typically the leaders of jama'ah try to shorten their ruku' and sujood to be considerate to the weak ones in the congregation. Adhaful ma'mumeen, as we refer to it in Arabic, to be considerate to the ones who are unable to prolong their ruku' or sujood. The imam in congregation is supposed to take it easy on people. Don't prolong it. You can do the prolonged ruku' and sujood in Salatul Layl, inshallah. Razaqanallah wa iyyakum. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the imams are imams so that we can follow them. Learn from their lifestyle, learn from their words. Before we come to the words of the imam on this topic, I want to reflect briefly on the ayah from Surah Al-Anfal, the second ayah in fact. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the special believers, not average, but the ones who have reached a certain true level of faith. He says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, surely the believers are those. And this is innama, to say this is the only, or these are the only ones who can be referred to as mu'minun. Outside of those, you can say Muslim. But what does Quran say about Muslim versus mu'min? If the faith did not penetrate deep into the heart, you can say Muslim. But to say mu'min, faith has to be deep in their heart. وَلَمَّا يَدْخُلِ الْإِيمَانُ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. or في قلوبكم. Don't say قل لا قل. Don't say we're آمنا. بل أسلمتم. You're Muslim. Iman is what is deep in the heart. Deep in the heart reflects itself. The first thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah referring to the mu'mineen, the first description he says, الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. When God is mentioned, their hearts become humble. Humbleness of the heart. In other words, referred to in Arabic as khushu' as well. Khudu' refers to the humbleness of the body. When you're physically, khadi'een is when you're physically humbling yourself. Positions of khudu' have to do with, in fact, the entire body. In salat, for example, to not move at all. You know, when you're standing in qiyam, you shouldn't be moving your hands or feet or leaning this way and leaning that way and scratching and itching. And you should be standing still. And that is one of the meanings of khudu' in qiyam, for example. In fact, even the position where you look in qiyam matters. Or in salat in general, where your eyes are positioned, where you're looking at. So when you're in qiyam, for example, it is mustahab, recommended to look at the position where you would do your sujood, mawdu'u sujood. And different positions in salat have different positions of where you should be looking, all of which brings, or if you try and analyze those positions, you'll find that the eyes are lowered. You know, you're not looking up. Somebody was looking up when he was doing qunut. I believe it was Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He said to him, you won't see God, don't look up there. Humble your eyes. You know, looking up there, you won't see it. What are you trying to see? You know, oftentimes, mistakenly, now some may look up in terms of the, basically because the rain brings mercy, the clouds, the sun, all the good things that come to us from the heavens, yes? If it wasn't for the rain and if it wasn't for the sun, we wouldn't have the beautiful, greenery that we have around us and vegetations and so on. So it is perhaps why some look up. Nevertheless, he says you will not see God. Look down, humble yourself. When you're praying, when you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, humble yourself. So khudu' is for the body, khushu' is for the heart. The heart has to have a state of khushu', humbleness. الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم. And part of the meaning of وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُم is that they would be embarrassed to be in a state of disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If God is mentioned, and whenever God is mentioned, they wonder, am I in a state of pleasing God or displeasing God? And that's part of wajilat qulubuhum. Part of wajilat qulubuhum is for one to be eager, if there is a loving relationship with God, if one has reached that level of loving God, they will be eager to be in a state of pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the question is, not am I displeasing, am I really in a position to please God? Am I pleasing? And am I in a position of rida? Radiyallahu anhum wa radu anhu. Am I in that state where God would be pleased with me? Therefore I would be made pleased by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the first thing. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Oftentimes in life, we go through tribulations, tests, trials. Everybody is tested, nobody is exempt. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. The more faith you have, tests will come your way, and that would beautify and in fact make your faith shine. Therefore, At times, those trials and tests could be difficult, challenging, and that's how it's meant to be. In fact, if you don't challenge a student in a classroom, do they progress much? They don't. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't send trials that are challenging our way, we won't grow. The whole purpose of those challenges is for us to grow. In fact, I was reflecting with one of the mu'mineen about the ayah لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Many of us are familiar with the ayah. And oftentimes it is translated and misunderstood based on the translation that God would not burden anyone beyond with anything beyond what they could handle. That's probably what you've often heard. Yeah? The beauty of wasa is the capacity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us our capacity to flourish, to grow. So that taklif is to what? That taklif becomes a beautiful thing, yeah? It doesn't become a burden. This is why Zainab salamullah alayha, when she is asked about the trials from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she says what? I did not see but beauty. Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. Why? Because she recognized that that trial and that taklif is not a burden, it's actually helping her grow, become more beautiful in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the eyes of the malaika. She would be praised by the malaika. And it's not exclusive to Ahlul Bayt, it's not exclusive to her, it's available for you and I. We can grow, we can flourish and grow and beautify ourselves through being successful in the trials and tribulations in life. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says whenever those believers, mu'mineen, whenever they recite the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they increase in faith. What happens often when you go through difficulties? What is recommended to do? The Imams of Ahlul Bayt, they teach us the Prophet and his family, they teach us some ayat to recite during difficulties, yeah? When you lose somebody, what does Quran tell us to say? Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Dhikr. When you are in difficulty, what do you say? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. In certain situations, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. Al-dhikr al-yunusi. And other hawqala and tahleel and takbir, adhkar. الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. Their hearts humble. When you're humble, you're not questioning anymore. If there is a trial, a difficult test, and you humble yourself, don't think so big of yourself. Oftentimes what happens when we don't humble ourselves, we question, why me? Who am I to say why me? If I breathe, it's through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If I live, if I exist, if I have any goodness, it's through the mercy. If it's based on what I deserve no good. It's through His mercy. So don't question, humble yourself. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتٌ. When the ayat are recited, what happens? زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Their faith increases and they reach a state that is very, very, in fact, unique and very powerful. The state, I often refer to these states or statuses as the labels or badges of akhirah. In this dunya, you get certain statuses. I've shared this example. Somebody gets a status of being a billionaire, and someone calls him a millionaire, he sues them. How dare you? He's a billionaire, he cannot be called a millionaire. In any case, these statuses are for dunya. Millionaire, billionaire, president, I don't know, whatever, senator, sheriff, whatever you want to call it, doctor, professor, all of these statuses. And in fact, as soon as somebody dies, do they refer to them as with any of these statuses? The best thing that they may say is marhum. And for the body, what do they say? Bring the body, take the body, have you washed the body? Has the body been buried? The body. It's no longer anything but the body. Have you been to a funeral? Have you seen how they refer to the body of the mayyit, yeah? And the mayyit himself, the best thing is marhum. Alayhi rahmatullah. However, what matters is whether or not we accomplished in this life certain statuses of akhirah. One of them is al-mutawakkilun. One of the most beautiful statuses of akhirah is tawakkul. Those who reach the state and the status of tawakkul. وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. They reach a state of tawakkul. Their faith becomes strong, therefore they become mutawakkil. يتوكلون على Allah. And I'm not referring to those who give themselves that title and label. There is one in history who was nowhere near tawakkul or mutawakkil. We're referring to the real character of being reliant and mutawakkil ala Allah wa ala rabbihim yatawakkalun. Imam Jawad alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. With reference to tawakkul, he says, Man tawakkala ala Allah kafahu Allahu al-umur. Or kafahu al-umur. Whoever reaches a state of tawakkul, don't get two things misunderstood. Some, they think if I do tawakkul, therefore I make no effort. That's not how it works. You tie the camel and rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. اعقله وتوكل. You safeguard your family to the best of your ability, your property. If you don't safeguard your property and it's stolen, you have helped the thief. In fact, in Islam, if the thief doesn't break into a house, he has less penalty. In the law, they say don't leave your things. If you leave something in the car, don't leave it visible. Because if you leave it visible, it's too tempting. Yeah? Don't tempt the thief. You do your part, secure your property, take care of your responsibility with regards to your children, with regards to your family, with regards to your work and earning and livelihood. You take care of your part. But don't ever rely on yourself or anyone or anything for that matter. Rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawakkul means to realize that it's ultimately in the hands of God. He has made this world in a way that we seek things through the means, bil asbab. There are means. Nevertheless, He sometimes changes the equations without us even expecting or realizing. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. One of the most beautiful ayat, which is in fact recommended by some of our great scholars to recite after salat, is in part of Surah Al-Talaq, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب. You take care of your duty with God, He will give you from where you do not even expect it. You make your effort and nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden you get it from somewhere you never expected. This is when it is meant to happen. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Rely on God, God suffices. Hasbi Allah, one of the most powerful adhkar. We spoke about dhukr Allah, الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهِ. You want dhikr that is very powerful? Hasbi Allah. And you want to continue it, complete it? وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلِ. Very powerful, this dhikr. God suffices me and He is the best agent. Wakil is like a lawyer, agent. You give him your file, your matter, whatever it is. You take care of it for me. The best one to take care of your matters is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, a reminder, mu'mineen and mu'minat, you do your part. Don't ever rely without thinking that I rely on God, I do nothing. No, we do our part. Nevertheless, we have to acknowledge the fact that it's ultimately in the hands of God. If He wants it to happen, it happens. If He doesn't want it to happen, no matter what we do, not the entire world comes together to make it happen, it won't happen. عرفت الله بفسخ العزائم ونقض الإمام. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, I know God. One of the signs of God is that you have a strong will and everything is planned. Azima is a plan, a will with a plan. Everything is planned right. Everything is in line with what is meant to happen or what you think is meant to happen. And I've taken care of everything, well planned, and you come to execute, nothing happens. It doesn't happen. Something makes it all the plans crumble and everything messed up and you can't move forward with your plans. That is when you realize, or we should realize, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge. He is in control of everything. Therefore, whoever من توكل على الله كفاه الأمور. God suffices them in all matters. Al-umur here comes in plural with alif. It's all the matters. No matter what it is, God takes care of it. It may not be what you have been asking for and praying for and hoping for, but it will be definitely what is best for you. You rely on God, it'll be even better than what you asked for. I often give this example to youngsters especially. It's like he's been asking for a $10. I want a $10. And they give him $100, he doesn't realize it. Or a kid that knows about coins but doesn't don't know about bills. Imagine a kid knows about coins but doesn't recognize bills or checks or credit cards for that matter. He wants a quarter. And you give him $100 bill. I don't want this. He wants the coin, yeah? He wants to feel it. What is that? That's our example. We ask God for something, He gives us way better. Maybe not in our timetable, maybe not the way we expect or want it. Nevertheless, He gives us better than what we asked for. And yet we are still asking for that little thing that we think is best for us. وَمَنْ تَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ كَفَاهُ الْأُمُورِ. In another hadith, the Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala, he goes a step further. He says, الثقة بالله حصن لا يتحصن فيه إلا المؤمن. This state or status is specific for a very special group of believers. It is part of tawakkul, but a step further, higher. Al-thiqa has to do with trust. Tawakkul, I rely on God, yes, which we should, all of us. Thiqa is I trust God. I know for a fact that He will take care of the matter. I know for a fact He will take care of it better than what I expected, better than what I could ever imagine. I know for a fact that God is merciful. Therefore, whatever comes from Him is beautiful. And it's part of His mercy and love and kindness. Thiqah. It is like a child trusting their parent. Yeah? How long, if you're not a parent to the child and you're trying to gain their trust, it takes a little bit of time, yeah? But with their parent, they, especially the mother, a child trusts their mother, yeah? They grow with that trust. They don't question. If a mother puts food before the child grabs it and eats it, yes? What if a stranger gives food to the child? Oftentimes, their children could be different, some of them more cautious, some of them more risk-taking. Nevertheless, sometimes you give them even wrapped candy and they're cautious, they're afraid. Should I take it? Does he intend good for me? Does he want to harm me, he, she? You know? When it comes to your mother, you trust that she wants the best for me. She's advising me out of love. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who put that love in your mother. Therefore, we should trust. We should have thiqah. As-thiqatu billah. He says this is a fortress. Tawakkul ala Allah. You feel strong. You feel sufficed. You don't worry. One who reaches tawakkul should not have worries. One who reaches a higher level of tawakkul and has thiqah, complete trust, feels like he or she is in a fortress. Hisn is a fortress. There's no worries at all at that point. Completely covered, completely protected. Al-thiqatu billah hisnun. It is a fortress that is specific for the believers. لا يتحصن فيه إلا مؤمن. Believers, this very special believers, again, those who reach at least that state of الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم وإذا تليت عليهم آياته زادتهم إيمانا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. Those believers, they reach a state of thiqah, they're in a fortress, completely protected. They don't have worries. No matter what the test that comes their way is, or how it feels, and how others may think that this is a burden, they themselves feel at ease because they're in the fortress of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tawakkalu wa wathiqu billah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the Imam wants for his followers, for the believers, not any average ones. Again, if we are followers of Ahlul Bayt, we should try and strive to be or to gain these titles and be in these groups, in these statuses. Tawakkul and thiqah billah ta'ala. The Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhi lived a very short life. In fact, when Al-Mu'tasim took reins of the Khilafah or the leadership at the time, the kingdom at the time, after Ma'mun departed and eventually the Ma'mun, to strengthen his position, he made Imam Jawad alayhi salam marry his daughter, Al-Fadl. And so she was in the house of the Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. Nevertheless, she was affected, strongly affected by uncles and cousins from Bani al-Abbas who were always jealous with the Imam and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'een. Therefore she had that kind of feeling. She grew up in that household, and her uncles and cousins who were constantly influencing her eventually convinced her to poison the Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. Now part of the reason could be the fact that she was not the mother of the imam afterwards. She did not bear the children or the child who was to be the imam after Imam Jawad alayhi salam, in other words, Imam Al alayhi salam. And the imams gave special attention to the mothers of the imams. Why? Because of their faith. Just like Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave a special attention to Khadija. Constantly spoke about Khadija, to the point that some of the wives asked him. One of them, she narrates, she says, I asked him, why do you keep mentioning Khadija? God replaced her. The Prophet said, never. God never replaced her with what's better than her. She believed in me when others denied. She gave me when others deprived. And God gave children to her when none had my children. In other words, God chose her for that role, for her faith. The Imams always looked at and loved and gave attention based on Iman. Therefore, her jealousy led her to eventually poison the Imam salawatullah wasalamu alayhi. Some narrations speak in details of what happened to the Imam. Nevertheless, they narrate that it was extremely painful, that the Imam could not sit, neither could he stand. Sallallahu alayk ya Aba Ja'far ya Muhammad ibn Ali أيها الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا. Some refer to the Imam as Bab al-Murad, Bab al-Hawa'ij. The Imam was also titled the Generous One, Al Jawad. توجهوا إلى الله بحاجاتكم توسلوا إلى الله بجواد الأئمة. يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. Eventually the poison brought the Imam to his last moments. The Imam salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi is said to have been all alone in his last moments. Yet nothing compares to the loneliness of the Gharib of Karbala. Oftentimes Imam Jawad alayhi salam would be found crying for Gharib Karbala. Imam Rada alayhi salam, the father of Al Jawad, once found him crying What is it, my son? Imam Al he says, this Mawlud, this son of mine, has so much blessings upon the followers, upon the believers and the followers of Ahlul Bayt. He loved him so much, broken to see him crying. What is it, my son? He says, I remember the ghurba of our grandfather, Abu Abdullah al-Husayn. Ya gharib, ya madlum, Karbala. Imam Jawad alayhi salam departs this world, surrounded by family and those who at least claim they adored him, they respected him and his lineage. Yet Imam Abu Abdullah al-Husayn, the master of youth in paradise, the grandson of Rasulullah, gets left on the plains of Karbala. Juthatan bi'aras, a body that had been beheaded, left under the sun of Karbala. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم إلهي بمحمد وعلي وفاطمة والحسن والحسين وبالتسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. استجب دعواتنا يا الله يا الله يا رحمن يا رحيم يا مقلب القلوب. ثبت قلبي على دينك، ثبت قلوبنا على دينك يا الله. ارزقنا طاعتك، جنبنا معاصيك يا الله. والله مؤمنين مؤمنات who are unwell, especially those who asked us for prayers, asked us for dua, grant them the quick recovery, Ya Allah. Those with hajat, grant them their legitimate needs, Ya Allah. Those in difficulties, under tyrants, under tyrannical systems, Ya Allah, grant them the quick relief, Ya Allah. Mu'mineen and mu'minat who departed our gatherings, departed this world, especially those from our ancestors, from our loved ones, grant them abundance of your mercy, Ya Allah. عجل فرج مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان، اجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه ومقوية سلطانه. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات الشهداء والصالحين، إلى أرواح موتانا وموتاكم، موتى الحاضرين الباذلين المؤسسين. رحم الله من قرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة حفظها صلوات.